Can you tell us a little bit about the consent form that you had to fill out and sign, and what we kind of put on there as a joke that turned into actually being kind of helpful?
So the consent form is just a 1-page document, and it basically, at the top, you have to like list all of your wishes. If it is like not to vaccinate or things like that. And at the bottom, it's basically more along the lines of like, could we videotape your labor and delivery? Is it okay if we have people or like doctors who are in like the field of study to observe your delivery? I forget what that was, residency. And it just had different questions like that. The only thing that we agreed to was if we absolutely needed like a blood transfusion, that would be okay for, say, for our little girl or I. That was the only thing. Everything else we said no. We didn't want to have our delivery videotaped. I didn't want any extra people in there. And that's had nothing to do with, the residents the people in residency themselves. It was just our first delivery. There were like 10 people in the room. I think it was insane. And it just gave me like anxiety. And so this time it was four people, Brett, Dr. Mona, and then our 2 nurses who we gotten to know really, really great over, the course of the day. So it was just a much more relaxed environment. At the top of the consent form, we put no vaccinations, no eye ointment. I wanted a delayed cord clamping until the cord was completely white and it wasn't pulsing. I think we had one more thing on there.
Don't touch the kid.
Well, so Brett wasn't at that appointment with me, so I took a picture of it and I sent it to him, and he texted me back and he said, basically put on there that we don't want you to touch our child unless it is approved. Touch our child or put anything on our child or inject our child with anything unless it's approved. So I wrote that. Well, every single time they walked into the room, the nurses, to do like a check on him, they'd be like, is it okay if we touch him or her? And like, it was just like hysterical because they literally followed it to a T. They never once took her out of our sight unless we approved it. We delayed the bath. We didn't want her to have a bath. So we delayed that 24 hours, but we just did a water bath with her. No soap. Yeah, but it was hilarious. They probably thought we were nuts. Thank God these nutsos left.
How about pros and cons to breastfeeding versus feeding your kid formula? I know not all instances people have the ability to breastfeed, but if that's a choice, which way, what are the pros and cons, and what would you recommend and why?
I mean, if you just listen to everything that I listed off of my consent form, then you'll probably understand why. But I mean, I just feel like your body, like God created our bodies to produce food for our child. Two of the biggest pros of breastfeeding are you're giving your child a whole ingredient, no additives, no high fructose corn syrup. Literally what you were designed to do, you're giving your baby. And the second thing is you're saving a shit ton of money. Formula is expensive, especially if you buy a quality brand. I mean, the pros to formula would be, it's easier. Like, other people can feed your baby. You're not as on demand as a mother. some people might not agree with that statement, but I wholeheartedly do. You know, you're not as needed as a mother when you're on formula. But I think it's so important if you are able to breastfeed to do that. They get all the nutrients that they need. They're much healthier, happier babies.
Yeah, and I would just recommend, again, if you are going to use formula, that you read the ingredient label. It's the same thing with any other food that I would give advice for on nutrition with any of my clients is read the label, and can you pronounce the ingredients? Do you know what that means when you're reading it? Avoid any added sugars, high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin. The list goes on and on. We ended up buying some formula because the first kid, Lexis's milk didn't come in right away. So we did have to supplement with some formula the last time. And same thing happened with the second kid. There was a delay between the colostrum and the milk coming in. So you're obviously not going to let your kid starve. You're going to have to feed it something. Um, so I ended up looking up a whole host of different options for formula, and we ended up ordering it from some Dutch company overseas because there was very minimal ingredients. It had natural milk products from, I think, a goat. So yes, it was very expensive. I understand that not everybody can do that, but we knew it wasn't going to be a long-term thing, so it was like we're going to invest the money up front to make sure our kid is getting a high quality ingredient than just buying the cheapest product that we could find off the shelf at Walmart, which again is typically going to be made in the USA with profit motive driving that company's operations, and they're going to use the cheapest, quickest, longest shelf life ingredients. So you really have to do the research and figure out what you're buying and what's that going to do to your kid. If you're going to breastfeed your kid, is there anything that you did in advance to help that process get going earlier? Anything?
So one thing you can do so you don't have to use formula is collect your colostrum. And honestly, I had really good intentions of doing it this time and I didn't. I didn't do it. Basically, you just are hand expressing colostrum and you can start doing that around 37 weeks. Your body will start producing it. Colostrum is just the milk. It's still considered milk, but it's just what your body produces before your milk comes in. So it is very, very thick and it's yellow compared to the more white looking milk. Typically, your milk comes in around 3 to 5 days postpartum, but you'll have the colostrum up till then. The problem is that colostrum is very thick, and a lot of babies don't like to put the work in to suck it out because it's hard work, put the effort in. So she was fine days 1 and 2, but then day 3 and 4, I had to hand express colostrum and then feed it to her in like a syringe. Basically, their stomachs grow so quickly that small amounts of colostrum are fine, you know, the first few days. But if there's a period of time where they're still hungry, but you're not producing the colostrum, then that's when we had to unfortunately supplement with formula. I think she ended up doing 1, maybe 2 ounces total of that. And so she was well fed, but then my milk came in, so it's been great ever since. Rapidly producing. Probably overproducing, honestly. I think I already have like 10 or 12 ounces frozen. The cool thing with the colostrum is you can, if you collect it early, You can just keep it in a jar. Put that jar in the fridge. The best time to collect colostrum is right after you shower. So you just hand express it into a jar, put that jar in the fridge, and even if you're only getting a couple drops, that's okay. You'll put it in the fridge and then keep doing that over, a course of a week, and then you can fill a syringe with it and just stick that syringe in the freezer. And if you can do that prior to your baby being born, I mean, that's wonderful. Your baby will have some extra colostrum in case you aren't producing as much as maybe you think you need to, or the baby wants, or what have you. Brett is posting some of my postpartum stretches that I've been doing. He's been videoing them and posting them to YouTube. So make sure you go to YouTube and like and subscribe.